Hello everyone, my name is Dustin1, welcome to the video today. Now, the last two episodes of Ninjago Much for the Oni have come and gone, and today we have the final one, Endings. Literally called that. Just a very last minute discussion here, probably going to be very outdated very quickly. I haven't made any videos since that Sprinjitzu prediction, and just to cover that real quick, I do think the ninja will form a tornado creation once the weapons have been reforged. I do legitimately believe that will happen. If it doesn't, this episode is probably only going to be 20 minutes long, which is not enough for what we need to happen. I really, like, if it was going to be longer, we would have had more of an advertisement for, you know, if it was a TV special or something. I really don't think it will be, so it's a little bit sad. It might be a bit rushed. Again, that's just an assumption. But in terms of the last two episodes, the reason why I feel like that is basically because the last two have kind of just happened. Now, in a good way, they haven't given me anything really to think about in terms of negativity. I don't have any issues with them besides I think the priorities were a bit weird. I think the season needed more episodes. Saying that, though, there are two things that happened in the last episode that I am a little bit confused on. Now, the last episode was probably the most important in the entire season, because it is the episode before the finale, basically. Now, in a season this small, it is incredibly important. It's basically, in a narrative, in usual Ninjago narratives, you have the beginning, which sets up the villain, or the opposing force, then you have a bit of a hurdle, and then you'll set down this path to the finale on the second and later half. And there's a big chunk of time where they answer questions, they introduce concepts, and they kind of just bridge the gap until we get a cool finale at the end. That's basically how Ninjago has done it ever since Season 1. The pilots were a bit different because they were 2 episodes in full length, but 4 technically because there were 4 separate titles for them. But basically that's how it was done, that's how it was paced. Episode 97 didn't really do that, it just kind of continued the plot, which is fine, and there were some cool shots in there, 100%, but it wasn't exactly the most enlightening episode. It was a lot more of a continuation of the last one, and it just felt like the same episode. That's just my opinion. Now, that all being said, there are 2 things I want to just cover before we get into the final episode. The first is the dragons versus the Oni. This is something that I touched upon originally. The dragons and the Oni are equal. Now, one thing we need to know about the Oni is that they are a horde-type enemy. Now, we've only had this once before, truly, and that was with the Vermilion. I guess you could make an argument for the Stone Army, but they were individually really powerful, so it's not like they were a horde. But the Vermilion, there were only 3 sentient Vermilion under the Time Stone's control. The rest of them were snakes that were basically just tools. It's not really the same thing. It's a bit different. These are like zombies in that sense. This is the kind of enemy that the Oni are, and it makes logical sense as to how seemingly these really powerful beings that already have defeated the first realm, dragons, could stand up to them in an equal fight, because you just have a few that are very smart and very intelligent, like Mistake, I assume. Maybe, theory here, Mistake was sort of like the Omega, and was sent in the realm with a horde of Oni at a command, and she ends up siding with the first Ninjutsu Master instead of against him. And she destroys the Oni, or removes them, or whatever. She had control over them, I assume. Or at least higher status. And I guess that's how we're supposed to take it. Now again, that's not confirmed. But the Omega definitely feels like the Horde Master. The Necromancer in this case. Although the Oni are not undead, so... But saying that, how did they get strong enough to defeat the dragons in the first place? And this is sort of something I can't really go into. I don't think we're going to get an answer now. I was really hoping for one. I don't think it matters, particularly. I think there is a way they could have done it. If we see more realms fallen under the boot of the Oni, then I will like an explanation. But if what they do is just kind of wrap up the Oni through some means, it doesn't mean to defeat them, but if we don't see any more realms, which we'll get into in a second, then that could be a problem. Second thing is quite important, actually. Kai and the golden weapons. Now, I just want to very quickly say, I am surprised and a bit disappointed that we're going to the monastery. There was a real perfect opportunity to introduce the Temple of Light back into the equation, give us the Dark Island, which would have been a very cool location for the final battle. It could still happen. They could go to the Temple of Light, maybe they fail at the monastery, they get the Firstborn and Wu and Misako, and they all fly over there. Maybe Ninjago, maybe after they escape, the Oni have just gone on like a massive, like, just basically started expanding at an insane rate. It could happen like that. We could end up on the Dark Island and sort of bring a circle around this whole thing. Now, that all being said, we have got some posters, and I was waiting until today to do this because we have one more. We have one more to go. It hasn't been revealed yet. I assume this is because it is something important. Now, on Twitter, I made a list of, I made a tweet thread saying how I imagined it would be the Omega, because it hasn't been officially revealed. Sure, he's in the set, but he isn't called the Omega. Nothing like this is confirmed. And the others have been generally quite tame. There are some quotes that are a bit up to interpretation, and they either could have already occurred in the 3 episodes, or they might be referring to something else. For example, Zane's one says he must let go of his love. A Ninjaroid must let go of his love, and it has Zane, so it's going to be Zane. Now, I originally assumed Pixel was going to die. That didn't happen, obviously. Pixel was left in the air, so it could refer to that, but also, it is possible, because of the Season 11 leaks about Zane being a bad guy, which I don't believe. I think that might just be a leaker thing. It's a bit unclear. They're not 100% certain on that at the moment. That maybe he literally lets go of all of his emotions. That could be a way, playing with the words there. But the most interesting one is Lloyd's, obviously. A lot of people assume Chima. I even thought maybe it's possible. We now know that it was the description in one of the Where the Departed chapters for the Departed Realm. Lloyd is in the Departed Realm, not in Chima. Meaning that, okay, there are 3 things I have to say on this. 1, either Garmadon dies. 2, either Wu dies, because he has to prepare for the end. Or 3, Lloyd dies through some means and ends up meeting the first ninjutsu master. Now, there is a theory that goes around that Lloyd is the literal reincarnation of the first ninjutsu master, and that's the reason why we haven't seen him, because he exists, but not in the same way he did before. And it would explain, going through the timeline, through his genetics, why Garmadon and Wu don't have the golden power. It's not because it's a hereditary thing. It's because, although that is kind of tested in Hunted, it could be because he's literally the first ninjutsu master. Reborn. That's, whatever. Maybe not. Maybe he is in the Departed Realm. We honestly don't know a lot about this stuff. I mean, it looks like Lloyd is using golden power, but he could be reaching to golden power. When Chima was in the debate, people thought golden chi, perhaps. Who knows? Every theory came up. I do think Lloyd will unlock golden power at the end of this season, though, or at least someone will bring in the golden power to defeat the Oni. Sadly, I really don't want the Oni to be defeated, but it does look like this might happen. I'm a little disappointed with the way they paced this 3-season arc. They had 24 episodes, and they decided to spend 20 of them on the build-up to the final event, and then only 4 of them on the event itself. So, interesting choice there. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video.